This is Lauren.
This is Trey.
And this
is the Partnership Podcast.
Who, me? Is that what you're saying? Hi.
Hey.
It's like I don't even want to do it. I don't even want to go back to that place.
Let's get after it. Okay, so we had a disagreement this week. Let's see. It involved fucking dishes. So,
which is ironic, not, I don't know.
Why would you say ironic?
Because we had that projector generator episode where you literally talked about dishes. A dish in the sink.
Yeah.
And we talked about how that's a need of yours.
I'm
already crying.
Seriously?
This is gonna go great.
Well, streak continues.
We didn't have a disagreement. I would disagree with that phrase.
Okay.
I didn't even really know there was a problem. And this.
Yeah, I got brought up Sunday morning in bed. We were doing intimacy cards. And
because literally I was like, we should talk about these for the podcast because I get a small, like I have a code for
and
these. Shout out.
I need to say this right now. These aren't real problems. Like you putting leaving dishes in the sink, continually leaving pans in the sink, not cleaning them. This isn't a real problem. But what it does is it occupies my brain, and then my mind goes to that I'm not being taken care of. Everything else is getting taken care of except for this one thing. And then we had like a 45-minute conversation in bed on a Sunday morning because it turned into that. And then my whole body language and energy changed where it was like just kind of a stare of like, this is a huge pet peeve of mine.
That was literally the question.
Yeah.
I stumbled into.
We were supposed to have sex too.
Yes.
And like look at Zillow.
This was,
but instead
we
it
have a
turned into
Sunday
this.
morning tradition of coffee, cuddles, Zillow, and good sex. And that we were on schedule. Things were going great. And I had to say, hey, in addition to like our coffee time, like let's pull out some of these because they're great questions. In the first 5 or so were great. And then I had to go and pull a card.
Is it a little, can you want to move it a little bit further away from is it good? About a fist, baby?
Yes.
About a fist.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I had to go and pull a card that, said, what is your biggest pet peeve? And it was like, zoom, your body like did a thing.
Talk to me about your week.
This is where I'm going to cry. I had an incredible week. I had my biggest business week ever, most successful business week, in the final stages of bringing on my very first intern. I got offered to write up our story for the Huffington Post, to be paid for it. What else? Just so many things. Oh, got offered like different speaking engagements, different podcast interviews, referrals from therapists. I mean, it was just a rockin' week.
This was your biggest financial week too.
Yeah, and my heaviest client load week, which we had talked about, I think, going in. And I had made some commitments to myself, which we'll get to retrospect, but how I should have communicated this more to you. But I knew in order to get through the long client days, I was going to need to fuel my body midday. I was going to need to move, get outside as much as I could, and eat. First 2 days, I did that well. We didn't even get to talk about this yesterday. I cooked, I washed the pans, I put them away. I'm sure you didn't even know I had been in the kitchen cooking. The third day was my longest, most packed day. Like I had so little time between. And so I didn't wash the pan and I let it soak in the sink. And so I don't even know where to go.
This is exhausting. This is exhausting talking about pans.
No,
in the sink. I mean, we've done it like, I think this is like round 3 of just this week of like talking it out.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many things, right? I've shared with you that the upbringing that I experienced would have me just submit, would have me say, I am wrong. I should wash the fucking pan and put it away in order to serve my husband. And I am teetering on this really weird line of, I'm not a messy person. I didn't leave the kitchen a disaster. I just left the pan to wash after my appointments. And this is my house too, like that I live in too. And I talked to you about like when I'm in appointments, there's like this freedom of flow, right? There's like this creative place, and I'm not intentionally leaving something undone, but when I am with clients, I'm in a responsive, I'm juicy, and I'm not thinking like boom, boom, boom. I am watching time consistently, all hours. So I am really fighting this place of I like wanting space in my own home, right?
Yeah.
Like when I'm not a slob, and wanting you to feel seen and valued, right? Like fuck submission, yeah, but wanting my partner and my husband who I see and love and treasure, and I don't know, wanting to honor that. And I ended up feeling like a failure.
Okay.
After my most successful week ever.
And that sucks, yeah.
This is the exact same thing. This is why I don't want to be successful, right? These are my fears of success, is that this is what I will inadvertently do, is harm you. This is why dreams of speaking on these stages and writing these books, I know where I have to go to be in my creative flow, and it fucks you up, and I don't want to do it.
And that's why 90% of the time it's better for me just not to say anything. But just for clarification, it was 3 days of a messy kitchen. So it was like the big pot of chili, and then dishes got in there, and then there was another pan, and then a second pan that sat overnight in the kitchen. But baby, just for clarification, correct? So it's 3 days. 3 days. Okay. So this is why, because it goes to I'm failing, I don't want to be successful, when I see it as, hey, can you finish? Right. So it doesn't occupy space in my mind, and I don't have to, either clean up the mess that's not mine, or B, work around when I want to cook in the kitchen, work around like a messy kitchen. And then this is a big pet peeve of mine that we've talked about
forever. I mean, I don't know. I mean, as soon as we started cohabitating.
Correct, yeah. So, yeah, this is a huge pet peeve of mine. And and we'll come up with a common ground, but I don't want you to submit it. Is there anything I do that...
No, and this is what we talked about too, is that
you've talked, that like you've told me over and over again.
I don't
that
care.
Like, hey, I don't like. Okay, I care about this.
I know, and so and this is what keeps going around in my mind, because I do a lot of this work with clients, is that there's morals and there's values. Mm-hmm. Okay, it is not morally wrong to leave dishes in the sink, right? No. It's not. And this is what you're sharing about. This is not like a huge problem. This is a problem of privilege, of a healthy relationship. This is a nitty gritty type of thing, but it is very true how it can erode relationships over a long time.
It can easily compound too within it. And then my mind, once it starts compounding, I go to tally.
Trey tallies.
Well, I tally where this is how I supported you this week, and this is how I didn't get supported. Isn't that interesting? Where it's not exactly rational, and it's not, I don't know, it's not fair, but that's where my mind goes. And then yours goes to catastrophic, I'm failing, where my mind goes to, it takes a minute and a half.
Can you please share with the audience what you wanted to do with the pan?
Oh, yeah. When I start having images of like throwing it out in the backyard, and like that'll show her. It's the pettiest bullshit that goes on in my mind. And honey, that's what's stressful, that this petty bullshit is going on in my mind because we've talked about it. That's the thing. Like where I don't feel supported because it's like, haven't I haven't I communicated this over and over again over the years? And then it goes to, she doesn't take the time for me. She has time for her client. She has time to work out. She has time for this. She has time to feed herself. She has time to cook for herself. But she doesn't take the minute and a half to clean the pan.
And maybe that's, I'm trying to listen to you. Like, if this is why this is such a gift. Like, sure. Do we want to rehash this again? No. But I am trying to listen with new ears.
But it's good content.
The people love a conflict.
Make sure and like and
You're
subscribe.
welcome.
Or don't. I don't give a fuck.
You're so welcome. All day long yesterday, Trey kept being like, don't save it for the pod.
Well, also it was we were going round 3. We were having a fun evening at the bar, and then we were going round 3 on like, well, this is how I feel. So it's fucking ridiculous.
You said the whole, I feel so in my masculine when I say this phrase, okay? Because it's a thing that people raised male usually say when you're like, she has time for this, she has time for this, but she doesn't have time for me, or she doesn't have time to support me, or whatever to show me. Like, I feel like everything I do is to show you love. Like, everything I do all day long. And so that feels like a blow to the gut.
Okay.
It feels like a stab. That's where I feel like, what the fuck? Like,
okay.
And that's why I shared that, like, it makes me so sad when I've said almost every day, how can I support you? And that you don't take that opportunity to say, if you could do your dishes today, that'd be really awesome. And I get it that you're like, I told you. I don't know. I'm just at a loss.
It puts me in my feminine when I'm thinking about throwing dishes out of the kitchen door onto the grass. Or I don't even know. Maybe that's not even fair.
I want you to do it. I want you to do it.
No, I don't. I don't want to do that because I don't want to be passive aggressive. I don't like passive aggressiveness. I like aggressive aggressiveness, but I don't get aggressive with you, honey. If I'm getting aggressive or if I'm arguing with you, that means I am not. It means I don't understand you and I don't want to communicate with you. Yeah. If I'm talking at you or if I'm getting aggressive with you or passive aggressive. So I don't want to do it. But it does compound in my mind. And then it comes out. And then, like, most of the time, the best course of action is avoidance, because then we don't have to do this.
Right, but that's not the best course of action. That's the chosen course of least conflict and least altercation.
Correct, because my needs are not getting met.
A need
is not getting met.
Right? And I think this is where I really struggle with, I feel like it becomes, and I am totally unfiltered here. I have no more energy to like.
Go, yeah, this is great.
I don't know, educate it. I feel that the one need that's not getting met, like, so far outweighs all the others. And it feels really unfair. Like, so I left a dish in my most successful week, like a dish every day. I left pots every day. But, like, didn't I do a lot of other good things? And why does... I don't know. It does. It feels like I did one wrong thing. I couldn't do it all right. And so, well, see, you don't value me. And I'm like, yes, I do. I did all the other things. It feels really hard. And, like, this is what it feels. It is not true, but it feels like I can't measure up. Like, I won't measure up. I'll never be enough. And yeah, it feels like I tried so hard and did a really poor job for the one person that actually matters.
Well, let's take a step back. Let's just try to look at it from a sex educator viewpoint, where one person is saying that I'm failing at everything if I'm failing at this. And then the other person is saying, I just need you to do this one thing that takes under 2 minutes for us to avoid all of this. Is that even a healthy thing?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so we can do what I said yesterday.
And then baby, my mind goes to, and I don't want to battle you with like logic, or like I don't want to battle you, but my mind goes to, if it was something that Lauren was so, that she's told me so many times over the years that this is a big pet peeve of hers, and I'm continuing to do it.
Yeah, I get it. You wouldn't do that, and you're not that person. You wouldn't. But I'm also not that person who has pet peeves. So it's great because it's great.
Yeah.
It's really fine. And I think probably I should have more pet peeves. I should care more. I just literally don't. And yeah, so it's fine. It's fine. We have, it's back to morals and values, right? So if I was going to sex educator it, this is what I would say. It's not morally wrong for me to leave a dish in the sink.
No.
But there is a clash of values here, right? And so a simple exercise I had us do yesterday was, if you could have it all your way, would dishes be always done and put away after somebody cooks and uses the kitchen?
Yes.
90%
of the time, yes.
90 to 100% of the time, you would love it, right? If you could wave a magic wand, that is how you would coexist with somebody else in the house. That's not a bad thing to want either. It's a need. We're allowed to have needs, wants, and desires. Then, if person B in this relationship feels that they really struggle to provide that thing, we can come to a deal where I can say, I hear you, I see you, I want you to remain valued. Is there a world in which, on the busiest of days for me, I could leave a dish in the sink with the understanding that it is my responsibility to do it later, that I would still clean the counters, that I would still do all of the things, and I would come back to it, thereby giving the space for both parties to exist in the house. But I don't know. It just doesn't. I even saying this right now, I can feel the defensiveness in your body that you're like that's not enough. Like, you just want me to do the dish.
No, I mean, that could work. I'm so fucking sick of talking about this at this point.
Why? Why are you sick of talking about it?
Because it's ridiculous. First and foremost, it's ridiculous. We don't have any real problems if this is our main problem.
It's definitely a reoccurring problem, though.
Yeah. And then it goes back to like, okay, what's the solution? And then it's like, okay, ignore it, be okay with it. For me, it's compromise because I'm not going to get what I want.
Can you talk more about why, when you're lone wolfing, you're fine with the chaos? Not chaos, with a messy kitchen. We talked about how if either one of us are not in the house, how we can let things get messy and it feels comfortable. Why do you think that is for you?
I'm not inconveniencing anyone else.
Okay. Yeah, because I'll do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird where like sometimes it'll pile up. It's disgusting. It'll happen like immediately too. Like when you leave for a conference or something, like, just there's fucking mess everywhere. It's weird. Yeah. But I'm not inconveniencing anyone else. And I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want to walk through that. And something goes on in my brain.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked a little bit about, and I think it's worth bringing this part of the conversation up about, because we did with money and porn too, about how both of us went to juvenile reactions. This feels even more childlike to me. And I shared a little bit with you about how so much responsibility was put on me so young to play. And especially when it comes to like homemaker roles, it's like distinctly connected to like dishes. I was journaling about this, and then when I was awake for 2 hours in the middle of the night, was thinking about this too, that mother, God rest her soul, could not clean a kitchen for the life of her. And so like we were always not forced to do it, but it was our job. We didn't have a garbage disposal, much like our sink here. And it was just so much oatmeal. Like I just have this visceral memory of digging oatmeal out with my fingers from like that drain thing. And I was just so little having to do all of these things. There's some recording of, her screaming into the dining room where I was watching my 2 younger siblings who were both boys. I had to be like 4 or 5 because the youngest was still in a high chair, and I had one of those Fisher-Price recording like things that we all had where you could audio record. It's like a cassette tape player, but it also had a microphone, and we were like singing and stuff in the kitchen, in the dining room, and being loud, and mom was making breakfast for dinner. But anyway, we were disrupting her, and she yelled in like, "Be quiet or I will spank all of you." And everything went silent. And then me saying like, and even the baby. And it's the first cognizant memory I have of needing like to keep everything in order not to get in trouble and not to be in my creative flow. And so I think there is some visceral connection in my body to being going along at my like creative Lauren thing. I'm like playing on the radio with my 2 brothers. Like you can hear, like it's just fun, and then getting in trouble, like, and not knowing. And it's some childlike response of, it doesn't feel like full frontal lobe development. It feels, I don't know, just really hard for some reason. And I can try to do better is all I can say. And I hate, though, the feeling that things are being tallied behind my, like that I don't know. So all I would ask of you is that you tell me sooner. And I know that makes you mad, right? Or not mad, just frustrated that you even have to say something.
Yeah. Like again.
Right.
I have to say it again and again and again.
What do you think that's tied to? Why? Because I think I'm a pretty good person in other ways too. Like, I guess, like, can it be my cute thing or no? Like, it just really feels like it can't have a flaw.
See, it goes to, you can't have a flaw, but I'm looking at the dish. Like one of us goes to, I have to be perfect. And then me, I'm just looking at the pot.
What?
I'm a failure. This week was ruined. I'm letting down my family. Hey, can you clean the dish?
No, it's not that. It's that you're the seething behind the scenes. I don't care about the dish. The dish I can understand. It's like the direct connectivity.
Yeah.
It's the tallying. It's the passive, the wanting to throw it out into the yard. It's all of these things. No, I don't. It's not that I really fear. It's the or that I. Yeah, it's the feelings of contempt I feel like you send towards me when I don't do the dish. No, it's the energy that you send towards me or like keep from me that feels like the failure. That feels like the punishment. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Maybe that's what it is too. It feels like the punishment is so much more severe than the crime.
Okay.
In the way that, like, I used to get spanked with a belt for stuff.
I'm not here to punish you, babe.
But like the tallying behind the scenes feels like a punishment. The thoughts of throwing a pan out in the yard because you're so angry at me, it feels like a punishment, like a very big punishment for a, hey, my lover, there's a dish in the sink. Can you wash that? I don't know. It feels for me, and I hope this is helpful for someone somewhere, because I hope they can viscerally feel and see how very different this value is, and you and I are aligned on so many things.
Sure.
Most things,
Sure.
honestly, most things we just kind of line up on. So this
Yeah.
is why I think this is such a tension point for us too.
Yeah.
Is that most things we're like are not this tricky for us to overcome.
No.
Okay. What I feel is that there's no conceding on your side. Like there is no, it feels in my body that it is Trey's way or the highway when it comes to dishes in the sink. That it is, yes, our home. But like when it comes to this issue, if I do not kowtow, it is not okay. Like then you are not seen and valued. And that feels so reminiscent to submit to me.
Okay.
And I want you to feel seen and valued, but I want to choose it. Is your relationship going well? If so, try the intimacy deck. It might not be going as well as you think.
Do you want to not have a boner for like 24 hours? Intimacy deck. When your partner tries to initiate sex, and then you're like, you do the fucking dishes.
Want to get laid? Don't try this. The Intimacy Deck by Best Self. Keeping couples away from each other since 2005. First, I love you.
Yeah, I love you too. I love you the most.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks
And
for
like,
this being our biggest issue. I'm
Sure.
very thankful. And I'm very thankful for spaces to have these conversations with you. So many people struggle with having these vulnerable conversations. And obviously they're very vulnerable. And I've shared with you that it would be more of a sign of unhealth for me if I just was like, oh, I'm sorry. And then just submitted. This is actually a sign of health for me. And I know it must feel like the very opposite for you. But I existed in a place for over a decade where I silenced my own individuation and my own agency to make sure that he was never upset with me. And I still always failed at that. But I really, really want to maintain my agency and individuation in this relationship. And I know it sounds like a really weird thing that it has to do with a dish. Why are you making the puzzled face?
we need to come to a compromise because I need to silence myself on this topic because my needs aren't getting met. Like, this is how you can support me, and it doesn't get met. Or I have to, I guess, say, hey, babe, can you do the dishes for, I don't know, maybe the 5th or the 10th time over our, like, relationship. So let's come to an agreement. Like, let's get on the resolution side of this, babe.
Wait, but what?
Instead of, like, because I feel like a fucking girl because
Okay, well, wait, let's.
yeah,
I
feel like
phrase.
I feel like a chick because I'm looking at a dish in the sink and then I'm angry at my wife for leaving it there and then I want to throw it out the window.
Why is that like a chick?
It's just girl energy, honey.
Which is what?
It's girl energy. So, yeah,
I would so beg to differ. I think that is so little boy energy.
Fair. Yeah. You know what? Agreed. It's little kid energy.
Yeah, it is child energy.
It's, yeah.
And yeah, thank you. Now that we've cleared that up. Okay, so come back to agency. I was concerned with you said you have to silence your needs. Or need. Okay. You don't have to silence them.
Baby, like, this isn't worth it. Like, you leaving a dish, like, I'm at the point now where it's like, oh, this isn't worth it. It's not worth bringing it up. It's not worth having a conversation over it. It's just not worth it anymore because it's like, it's not going to get met, or it'll get met when it gets met. So, well, let's just come to an agreement, honey.
But
like, this sucks.
Yeah.
This fucking sucks.
But the people, they better be thankful. I don't want you to feel, you just said like you have to silence your needs. I don't want you to feel like that. I guess I'm so confused. You want me to do it without being reminded or asked, and somehow that is the need. The need is for me to do it without any type of gentle reminder, or I think it goes back to, for me, that we talk about often, and we talked about this with the rug, that conflict, that an act of service starts with the person who will be accepting the service. Like, will you do this for me? Yes, I will. You're thinking, forgive me if I'm wrong, that will you do this for me? Yes, I will, is just over the dishes in general. Like, I just need to always remember to do that. Is that what you're feeling? Okay.
I don't know. My brain's kind of shutting off right now. Like, I don't.
What are you feeling? Let's go back to just how we feel in our bodies.
I can't even connect. I'm stopping being able to connect. I don't even know where the solution is right now. Like, I really want to get solution focused. I don't even know how to get there. Like, right now, I just feel terrible.
Why?
Because this is ridiculous. B, it's confusing. And I guess 3, this is so fucking stupid.
I don't.
And then for me, it's to go within and solve it myself. And then I can do that. And solving it myself would be like, hey, you just need to fucking relax on this. Like, you need to let this go. Like, A, it'll get done, or it's not your responsibility to fix, or you need to, like, really chill on this pet peeve. And I can do that. And I can just I can figure that out where it's like, this just needs to, you can't have this be a pet peeve anymore. Because it's creating so much contention. So that's where I'm at. And it's not like it's like, oh, it's not a defeated thing. Maybe so.
Yeah.
I feel like it just, like, the topic needs to be defeated. And then the solution for me would be that's a quick solution.
We haven't done that thing that the Projector Movement podcast suggested, which is be outside when we're trying to solve this problem. We haven't done that. I thought that was a really intriguing thing, and it's how we solved our last conflict.
Yeah, we've actually talked about this literally trapped. We were trapped in bed. We were trapped in a bar, and now we're trapped in the podcast room.
So this is possibly not, sadly, where the people are going to get the resolution. It might need to be where we go out. We talked about doing a drive.
Can we shift to a resolution? Can we just workshop a resolution?
Sure. What's your resolution?
Kind of trust that it'll get done, and like not worry about it. And then I just work around it. Like if I want to cook or something, just cook. And then like say if and then if the utensils that I need are dirty, clean them.
Should we get 2 sets of utensils?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay. One of the things I've thought about is you so value communication too.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I communicate to you earlier on, I desire to cook for myself today.
No, I don't want you to take time out of your, like, baby, I don't want you to take time out of your schedule to add another thing to it. No. And then I can just assume that you're super busy and that's why it's just not getting tended to. Or it's getting tended to later, or it just needs to be prioritized later.
Do I, or do I have a tendency to leave it undone? Because that's yucky to me.
This week, it was a tendency just to leave it undone. The momentum was just to leave it undone. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like forever, like, yeah.
No, it was the evening it got done. The evening got done, and then the next day it got done.
Is that okay, or is that you really just don't?
Yeah, my mind goes to finishing. Like the time to do all this, that just gets included in this kind of cook time. It just doesn't get left out, or it just doesn't get deferred. So in my mind, in my ideal mind, I would love for everything to be put together versus this last thing that really irks me to get deferred. And that's where it kind of comes to, everything else has been, completed, or everything else is being tended to except for this one thing that bothers me. Yeah. So what are you thinking over there?
Just how much I love you and how much I love like how your mind works and how I wish that I could just have that brain. Like I'm sitting here going like, yeah, that just makes perfect sense. Like, yeah, well, if you're going to cook, you consider the time that it takes to clean it up too. Yeah, and I don't.
Baby, you have that brain because you do that in work.
I know, and I'm really good at it there.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to think too, is that, and I've told you this in, I don't know, conversation 2 of 3 or something, or 1 of 3 about this very dish, is that I spend all day every day watching a clock tick by, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45. Okay, 45 is where we need to start to wrap up. How many more homework assignments did they have that we haven't discussed, and blah, 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 and then rebook, and then this, like I spend all day quadranting my time. So I don't know if it's just like my creative side wants an outlet. I don't know. But
I fed too, like your belly needs food. I
really am trying to eat. And I can prep for myself it does work better if I prep for myself on the weekends and then just reheat what I need to eat. Again, it's like this fine line of like agency and cohabitating with someone and treating them with respect and love and value. Yeah, and it must be some like internal stuff. And I'm sorry, you're just so important to me, and I don't want to. I want you to hear that it is very upsetting to me that I would ever lead you to feel unseen and unvalued.
Okay.
And equally, it hurts very much when you're tallying and becoming passive aggressive behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And I think it's okay for both of those to exist, like coexist. Yeah, I think the things that I can try is if I want to be cooking, to prep on the weekends, and then if I want to cook during the day, fine, just make sure that I'm allowing time to cook, like to finish to completion. And then if I cannot for some reason, I can zip you a text that says like, I have left a pan in the sink, I will be back after.
It's not necessary, honey. It's just not. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess the solutions would be to prevent it by finishing, and then my solution would be just to kind of let it go. Like, I love you, honey. You're the most important thing in the world to me. And you say this, but, and thank you. Wouldn't the solution be to
Just do the dish. Is that what you're going to say?
is that one of the solutions?
You just want that to be the solution.
Why isn't it?
Oh, God bless anybody who's married to an Enneagram 1 who's also a projector. He's like, I can see the right way this should be done. And it is the right way. Like, I know that you are saying it's not a moral thing, but I literally think you're like, no, there's a right and a wrong here. The right is to do it this way. And I mean, this is what I told you last night at the bar. Like, I could say to you, I will do it. But then I like freak out internally because I'm like, but what if I don't sometime? What's going to happen? Like, is the wrath of God going to come down on me? I will say like that I will try to the best of my ability, but we have been here before. So I'm like, I think we need to tweak it a little bit because I don't know. Again, I so appreciate what you said of like, this is not it's not like a huge thing, but isn't it funny how it absolutely gets to like the core, like these core deep things.
It compounds.
Yeah. And you have
quickly.
I've tried to initiate sex so many times to distract your brain. And you've been like, no. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like, it's not a little thing. And these things can lead us to feeling unseen and unvalued. I think in some ways I do too. Like, you know, it's that double-edged sword of me, right? I am the creative who thinks that anything is possible in this world. Like, watch me fly, and I leave sunroofs open, right? And I leave dishes in the sink. And I am sure it is parts of the same part of my brain. And so I think a part of me too is like, don't you see me and value me? I'm over here soaring. And that's what you're going to call out, right? I was devastated that on Friday night, I wanted to like celebrate with you. And
yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know you wanted to celebrate with me. We were going to go out to dinner. I said it at like 4:30 on the fly. I said, babe, it's Friday night, so let's get in there. Can we do it can we leave the house at like 5:45 to get there at 6 to beat the rush? You said, sure. I didn't hear from you. And then at like 7,
6:30, 6:45.
7, you came in and say, hey, like, you know, let's go to dinner. And I go, babe, this is the rush right now. I don't want to go out during the rush. I don't want to battle, you know, weekend crowds at the two of the most popular restaurants in town. And so, yeah, I just stayed home and you went out. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, babe. Yeah. I didn't know though. The 5:45 thing kind of came and went, and you were working. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, we didn't communicate, and I could have reached out too. I wish I would have done it better. But I love hitting one tennis ball at the time, and just trusting that you're going to communicate with me, and so that compounded on top of all this stuff that you didn't even know about. Mm-hmm. It was just a compounding week, and I mean, great work week, and yeah, you didn't get celebrated the way you wanted to get celebrated, and I didn't know it was a celebration either, babe. I didn't know what a great week it was.
I told you at the beginning, and this is where
Beginning of Friday?
no, at the beginning of the week, like that it was going to be one of my.
Yes.
I sent you a text like weeks before.
Yeah.
That, like the first week in January was going to be really big for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it feels like we're in a gray right now, doesn't it? We're not too happy with each other. Yeah, and it's it's not the rule is the exception. Yeah, and it doesn't feel like we haven't really come up with a good solution. Like we know what the solutions are, but yeah, it just feels shitty.
I feel like it needs a compromise, and that you are not interested in a compromise. That's what it feels like.
I'm interested in listening. Go ahead.
Well, the concept of if Lauren has communicated it's a busy work week, that if there's a dish in the sink, that we trust that she'll do it later, and that it's her responsibility to do it later because she is a grown-ass adult and should do the dish later. And yeah, just grace for that part of her that's trying the best she can and maybe is a little untidy at times in the midst of a busy work day. In my dream world, I have a personal chef who makes me food and brings it to me when I'm like, I have such big dreams, and I think I get so worried that I'm like, I can't do that. I can't fucking put a dish away. And we've talked about this, that it's easier to really chase and pursue something when you're a lone wolf, right? Like, because you can get really myopic, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, we're stronger together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think this is grounds for divorce.
Annulment.
Yeah, can we still annul?
I think up to 6 months. I could be so wrong. Maybe it's just 6 weeks. So we're done with annulment. We got to do the whole thing.
Do we have to give him $500? Fuckers.
So much money. Commonwealth. Yeah, I don't know if there's a resolution right now, and I think it might take a coffee drive or an outside walk to really figure it out, because I think we both know how our bodies resolve things outdoors much better than feelings of being trapped. But I do know that I am imperfect, and I have great big dreams. And for some reason, this dish in the sink feels like it's weighing my dreams down, which is really strange. And I hear you, like the correlation of like, oh, I'm an utter failure, to you being like, just do the fucking dish.
Yeah, and the dish in the sink of like, I'm not being seen in my relationship. It's very strange.
Kids,
it's very strange.
Was your mama good? Did she clean the kitchen well?
I was the same. I was raised the same way, where I was like the man of the house in like the 3rd grade, and I took on a lot of the like domestic responsibilities. I remember a time that I was being punished, that she made me clean the floor with like vinegar, and I threw up on the floor. I remember that. So it was, yeah. But it,
fun childhood.
honey, I like that was. I know it's connected, honey, but I'm good. Yeah. I guess I just need to relax on the whole dish thing, because I don't want this type of conflict, and then I feel like I've created it, or I don't want this to happen again, so I just need to avoid it, or just do the dishes myself.
I don't want you to do that, because we've talked about how that enables codependency.
Yeah.
I know. We can be done. We can make this a conflict part 2 again.
No, I don't want to.
No. I mean, we can
we're not
resolve
doing
it
this
off
again.
camera and then
Right.
tell the people how we resolved it. We don't need to continue to beat this, but
Sure.
I don't want you to enable behavior in me that you do not like to see.
Okay.
Partnerships can, I know this in theory. Can I apply it to myself right now? No, I don't know how to. So I hope this is helpful for people somewhere, because we are literally at, right? Like, we feel that tension, that blockage, right? I know we'll come through it because it's what we do. But partnerships have the ability to sharpen and strengthen one another if supported. So please don't enable. Please don't enable. We are smart. We're really smart, and we love each other a whole lot. And we're really creative. We can figure something out.
Okay.
But the only thing I don't want you to do is like enable the behavior and then be even more angry at me in your soul.
All right.
That sounds horrifying.
Okay.
I would rather this.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about?
Intimacy deck. Best self. Click the link below to purchase one for your home for pleasant conversations like this.
Have things been going well and you want to fight with your babe? In an intimacy deck, you can bring up some deep-seated shit that you've been avoiding with the intimacy deck. For your best self, or if you want to be super pissed off for like 48 hours.
The opinions expressed on this podcast are just that, opinions. We encourage you to take what you like and leave the rest. We love research and hope you do your own. We hope that our successes and failures enable you to build the partnerships you dream about. So I like to take a little minute just at the end of these podcasts to talk about the platform that we use for our podcast called Anchor. When we were first getting into the scene of podcasting, I didn't know much, but did a simple Google search and found that by just uploading one high-res video to Anchor's platform, it does the rest of the work for me, pushes out the audio and video to every platform podcast users use. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'd love to tell you more about Anchor.